So, the world as we know it today is different from the world 400 years ago. The Industrial Revolution was a widespread replacement of manual labor with machines, okay, which is the steam engine. And this steam engine was the invention that was really significant during the medieval period. What was used to power engine during the Industrial Revolution? And what does the Industrial Revolution mean to the world? We shall see the answers to these questions in the course of this lesson. First, let's look at the meaning of invention and inventors. Inventions are processes of discovering new methods, forms, and devices to do something. Okay? Then an inventor, it's a person who has invented a particular process or device as an occupation. Okay, so we're going to look at some inventors and their invention. First, we have Alexander Graham Bell. This was the man that invented the telephone. Now we have Charles Babbage, okay, that invented the computers. Albert Einstein talked about the laws of relativity in physics. Henry Ford, an inventor in the transportation industry. Carl Benz produced cars that were using gasoline and bought cheaply. Leonardo da Vinci is the man in charge of aerodynamics, and the Wright brothers were the first persons to produce and successfully fly an aeroplane. Moving forward, do you know who invented the bicycle? It's Macmillan. The radio, Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. Haviland invented the air conditioner. Thomas Edison, the electric bulb. And then you have Cooper as the man that invented the mobile phone. Okay, so these were great inventors. Now let's talk about the Industrial Revolution. Believe it or not too many years ago, people provided many things for themselves, sewed and made their own clothing, they grew their own food, and they hunted for the meat they eat. The world have gone through various forms of industrial revolutions. There have been revolutions in the agricultural sector, in the medical world, okay? But we're going to be discussing industrial revolution as regards transportation industry. And then even in the olden times, there were skills. People had skills in wood making, people had in steel making, okay? That was the order then. Again, most people use simple hand tools or those tools powered by hand or animals. Growing and producing their own food, it was hard work to actually produce things they needed. Families worked and the elderly worked as they were able. So they have to struggle for their meals, they have to struggle for the clothing they put on, even their own shelter. Okay, the Industrial Revolution started within the 1700s into the late 1800s. The Industrial Revolution changed the world even as we knew it today. So goods were produced in factories powered by steam and electricity, including the use of coal and oil to produce things in mass quantity and then transporting these items across long distances. Their creativity and expanding of their mind, the Industrial Revolution, okay, helped to harness all the resources of earth to the benefit of man. That's the usefulness of man. The Industrial Revolution took place in Great Britain, where they have more resources such as iron ore and coal. So Great Britain was selling most of their products to the people of the United States. However, all this came to a halt due to the embargo of the 1807 Act, with the import and export of products from other countries, in addition with the War of 1812 between Great Britain and Americans, forced the Americans to look for other options instead of relying on Britain. The embargo war led to the expansion of transportation. the use of electricity and increase in industrial processes that made production in America to be increased. Earlier, we talked about invention and inventors, the steam engine. The steam engine was a major invention of the Industrial Revolution and led to the improvement of the textile industry, mining, and transportation. So, steam engines use heat and steam to create chambers. So, most steam engines work by heating water in a chamber, then the pressure of the steam can then be directed through pipes and valves to generate heat. Steam engines have been applied to a wide range of uses. The first steam engines were simple pumps used to pump water out of canals. After some improvements, more efficient and powerful steam engines were being used to power ships, trains, and even factories. Before steam power, most factories and mills were powered by water and wind. The first useful steam engine was invented by British inventor Thomas Newcomen in 1712. So the engine was used to pump water out of mines. The steam engine was later improved by British inventor James Watt in 1765. He introduced a refined steam engine that was many different industries and for many purposes. So they were all used in different industries. Then steam engines help to improve productivity and increase efficiency. Once steam engine was applied to the textile industries, machines were made to move faster. Transportation was greatly improved by the adoption of steam engine, and then later inventions such as steamboats revolutionized travels and other things. Then we had the trains. Okay? So all these were products of the invention of the steam engine. Then over time, steam engines were replaced by internal combustion engines for most tires. So, however, steam power is still heavily used around the world in various applications. So, these have generated to creating electricity, which remains an important part of the Industrial Revolution. So, this brings us to the next work on the modes of transportation, the transportation industry. Okay, for many years, people use animals for transport themselves by land over long distances, but eventually the wheels came. So let's look at the types of transportation. There are three forms: land transportation, water transportation, and air transportation. So land transportation are two forms: road transportation, rail transportation. So we shall be looking into it today. Now look at these vehicles that are used for land transport. Okay, you have the taxi, the truck, fire engine, car, bicycle, horse cart. So what's land transportation? This is the movement of people and goods through land. It could be through the use of motorcycles and bicycles. Now, this is the image of the car that was produced by German engineers Gottlieb Daimler and William Maybach, while this particular car was done by Henry Ford. Okay, Henry Ford produced this. So these are the new models of the Benz cars. Transportation is very important in our daily lives. Now we're looking at rail transportation. Rail transportation. Rail transportation, this is the movement of passengers and goods along railways or railroads. George Stephenson used steam engines to power locomotives that pulled wagons along railroad tracks. So a train is a series of railroad vehicles linked together. The vehicles are drawn by a locomotive. So these are steam trains. These trains are using steam engines. So these are the early trains drawn by locomotives. Okay, so this is the way they move using steam. Then these are the modern trains. Okay. Today, the railway industry has evolved from using steam to using diesel or electricity to power trains in our various cities, and most goods are being moved from one city to the other through the use of trains. Now we are looking at water transportation. Water transportation. Water transportation involves the transport of goods or people across bodies of water, oceans, lakes, and rivers. Okay, so water transportation is a mode of transportation using canoe and rafts. Okay, so these are the images of the things we use for water transportation. Then air transportation is movement of people and cargo by aircrafts and planes. You have helicopters, aeroplanes, jets, and hot air balloon. So air transportation is one major event that have happened from the industrial revolution. These are the Wright brothers. They were the ones that produced the first aeroplane, the first airplane, and they tried to fly it successfully. Okay, so they were the ones that helped to propel and then brought in the new modern kind of planes. So images of land, water, and air travel. So we're looking at space travel. So space travel, okay. Most times satellites are being put in the space, even humans are being sent to space to go and check out for some information. Let's look at space travel. Space travel. Okay, for many years human beings have gazed at the skies and they've gazed at the stars and wondered about life in space. Okay, with the development of science and technology, humans could travel in the space. Now we could use our phones, we could download things from the internet. It did not just come, it was an invention of man. Okay, so the good thing is that space travel is just the releasing of that is satellite images close to the moon, close to the stars, to pick information from the space. Okay, the space age began with the launch of the first satellite into space. A satellite is an official body placed in orbit, okay, around the earth, moon, or another planet to collect information for communication. So the first man to travel into space is astronaut Gagarin. Astronaut Gagarin was the first man to travel into space. Okay, an astronaut is a person who is trained to travel in spacecraft. So we said that the space age began with the launch of the first satellite into space. The satellite is an artificial body placed in the orbit around the Earth, around the Moon, or other planets to collect information or communication. So let's see more information about space travel. Now, US astronaut Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong was the first man to land on the moon. You could imagine the moon you see in the sky. Okay, Neil Armstrong was the very first man to land on the moon. Now, the first satellite that was launched into space is called Sputnik 1. Nigeria have launched Sat 1, Sat 2. I think during Obasanjo's regime as the head of president of Nigeria, okay, he launched Sat 1 and then I think Sat 2. So when these satellites are launched into space, they are able to pick information. That's how you can connect your phone and watch events happening in other countries without launching the satellite into space. Your phone cannot work. Your phone can't work. So because these things are there to pick information, that's why you can download with your data. And also industrial revolution have really done a lot in the transportation industry. So we said that the first satellite that was launched into space was Sputnik 1. You will see the image in the course of this lesson. So the challenges engineers and scientists have faced in putting satellites in the space include: first, they have to develop rockets that were very powerful enough to boost a satellite out of the Earth's atmosphere. This Sputnik 1, when they launched it in the atmosphere, in the space, the battery died some few seconds and later the thing landed back to the Earth. But the new ones that they are doing now, those ones are strong. So another challenge that scientists are facing is that they need to build light and durable materials strong enough to withstand the force of being launched into the space, because the thing leaves the ground and then it shoots into the sky and off it goes. So that is what space travel. So let's look at images of the various types of space satellite. The first one by the left is the Sputnik 1. Okay, the one I said they sent into space, okay, in the early 18th century and the early 19th century. So it went there, the battery died and it came down, it couldn't pick more information. Then the one below it, sometimes robots could be made and sent into the space to go and pick information. They'll be controlling them with computers down in the earth here. Then this, the one by the left, the image by the left is the space satellites. That's the modern ones that once they release them, they go there and then they pick information. Okay, humans too could clothe the way these robots have been clothed, and then they will go and pick information and come back. Okay, so that is that. Now, thank you for watching this video. You can see my bicycle. Bicycle is one of the most environmental friendly means of transportation. Okay, there are countries that are using bicycle as their major means of transportation, like the third world countries or the developing country like China, like India. Majorly they are using it. It's fuel efficient, it doesn't use any fuel. It's really environmental friendly, no smoke. You just move the pedals and off you go. So I encourage you to do your assignments, okay, on exercises 33 to 38. Then your question box in the portal, you can use it to ask any question. Then you take your notes down, okay, through the notes box. Okay, be good.